In my first lecture on the poem Virtue, composed by George Herbert, I have highlighted this fact that immortality of the soul is the central idea behind this poem. Now, with the help of some of the slides, I would like to make you know as to how the philosophy of the poet can be grasped very easily. With the help of some of the structures, with the help of some of the teaching aids, I will be able to go into your mind without any sort of difficulty, and I'm sure of it, you will not feel any sort of difficulty in understanding my lecture. So let us start with some of my teaching aids, some of my slides. 3 slides I have prepared, and those slides, slide number 1, slide number 2, and slide number 3 will help you as the teaching aids to understand this particular lesson. Let us come to the slide number 1. Boys and girls, once again I would like to repeat the lines of the poem. As I have said, the title of the poem is Virtue, and it has been composed by George Herbert. George Herbert was born in the year 1593 and he passed away from this world in 1633. George Herbert was a metaphysical poet, and he was a great disciple of John Donne. Let me recite the poem once again for your better understanding. For your better comprehension, I am going to recite the poem once again. Sweet day, so cool, so calm, so bright, the bridal of the earth and sky, the dew shall weep their fall tonight, for thou must die. This is the first stanza. Sweet rose, whose hue angry and brave bids the rash-gazer weep his eye. Sweet rose, whose hue angry and brave bids the rash-gazer wipe his eye. Thy root is ever in its grave, and thou must die. Let us enjoy the third stanza. Sweet spring, full of sweet days and roses, a box where sweets compacted lie, my music sows ye have your clauses, and all must die. You see, the third stanza comes to an end. Now, enjoy the fourth stanza. Only a sweet and virtuous soul, like seasoned timber, never gets, but though the whole world turn to coal, then chiefly lips. As I have explained in my lecture number 1, that bridal means something, means wedding party. Now, dew means tiny drops of moisture. Hue, this word has been used in the second stanza, you see. Hue means color, and bits means to make an attempt. Rash means too hasty, overbold, and this word rash-gazer, the word rash has been used in the second stanza. Compacted, this word has been used in the third stanza, and its meaning is close together. In the third stanza, another word I would like to expose its meaning, that is its ye, and it is nothing but the plural form of thou. Another word is a seasoned timber. A seasoned timber means a log of wood, very strong, which cannot be destroyed so easily. So, boys and girls, stanza first, stanza second, stanza third, and stanza 4 is all these stanzas are in front of you. Just see as to how in the first stanza the poet has used the word sweet day, and this sweet day has been used as a metaphor, and this sweet day is like the wedding day of the earth and sky. So the metaphor has been used in the first stanza. In the second stanza, sweet rose, the word sweet rose, with the help of the word sweet rose, the poet wants to create an image in the mind of the readers that sweet rose it's so fascinating, it is so colorful, it is so charming, it is so attractive that it compels the passers-by to wipe their eyes. But alas, the root of this flower, the root of the plant of this flower is already in grave, means it is bound to die. In the third stanza also, the poet has used metaphor, sweet spring, which is like a box. Sweet spring is like a box, and in my classes I have made you understand that a metaphor, when two similar things or two dissimilar things are compared without the help of the word as or like or so, that is called metaphor. So metaphor is a condensed simile, means where we do not use like or as or so. But you see, sweet spring is like a box, means the poet has used metaphor here. But here you mark the difference. In the fourth stanza, only a sweet and virtuous soul like seasoned timber. The word like has been used, so the poet has used simile. So with the help of these examples, what I have shown to you is that the poet has left no stone unturned to explain. The poet has left no stone unturned to go into the mind of the reader, because the Virtue is a very short poem, it's a simple poem, and it's a very sweet poem. Let me elucidate the poem once again. Our first stanza is about sweet day, the second stanza is about sweet rose, the third stanza is about sweet spring, and fourth stanza is about the seasoned timber. Now, a sweet day is not permanent. It is bound to die. It is bound to come to an end. Similarly, a sweet rose withers with the passage of time. It is also not permanent, like a sweet day. The season of spring also comes to an end with the passage of time. What does it prove? It proves that all these three examples which have been borrowed by the poet from the nature, the poet says that a sweet day, a sweet rose, or the season of spring are not permanent. Then what is permanent? A virtuous soul does not die, it is permanent. So with the help of the example of the seasoned timber, the poet wants to emphasize, the poet wants to highlight this fact that if we want to have immortality in life, we should imbibe virtues, we should cultivate virtues, we should follow the path of virtues. Now, this is the time to explain the craft of the poem. Boys and girls, there are 4 stanzas in this poem. The first stanza is about the sweet day, as I have mentioned, as I have said earlier. The first stanza is about sweet day. The second stanza is about the sweet rose. The third stanza is about the sweet spring. And in the fourth and the last stanza, the poet talks about the seasoned timber, where he discloses the truth of life and says that if we want to enjoy immortality in life, we shall have to lead a virtuous life. As far as this beautiful poem is concerned, the beauty of this poem does not lie in its music only. The words have been, very simple words have been used by the poet. When we go through the poem, when a reader goes through this poem, he or she does not feel any difficulty in understanding the theme of the poem. Why? Because simple words like sweet day, sweet rose, sweet spring, sweet and virtuous soul, like simple words, means words of daily life have been used by the poet. And so the simplicity, this poem is marked by simplicity. Words are very simple, and they are very productive by nature. They help the readers in understanding the poem. The beauty of this poem lies in its music. As I have repeatedly said, that George Herbert was a great lover of music, and that's why it has been reflected here in this poem also. You see, the music of this poem will go to our mind in a better manner if we take into account the stanza pattern of this poem. Mark the stanza pattern of this poem. The rhyming scheme of this poem is A, B, A, B. That is to say, bright sky, bright, then tonight, sky, and die. In the second stanza, C, D, like brave, grave, I, and die. We have talked a lot about its music. What I am going to say in one line, I would say that the rhyme scheme of this poem has contributed a lot to the lilting music of this poem. About figures of speech, I have already described that the poet has used metaphor and the simile very profusely, and it has gone a long way to express the idea of the poet. It has made the expression of the poet crystal clear. The theme of the poem is that we can get immortality by following the path of goodness. When we become virtuous, God gives us the reward of immortality. The same message is that the message of the poem is we should try to follow in our life the virtuous path. About the title, I have already said that the title of this poem is very suggestive to the theme. Virtue. Virtue means quality. Means the poet says that a person dies physically, but if he possesses good qualities, those good qualities never allow him to die. Let me give you one example, that Gandhiji is no more, but his weapon of peace and non-violence, truth and non-violence, by virtue of these things, by virtue of these qualities, Gandhiji is still alive. And this point the poet wants to drive home in the mind of the reader. The poet has made beautiful images with the help of the sweet day, with the help of sweet rose, with the help of sweet spring and a seasoned timber. So it can be said very firmly that by creating beautiful images in the mind of the reader, the poet has got great success in expressing his ideas in a very crystal manner, in a very clear, in a very befitting manner. The poet has expressed his idea. And as I have said you that it is a poem of 4 stanzas, but each stanza is loaded with heightened ideas. It is loaded with inherent. Boys and girls, here is slide number 3, and the purpose of the slide 3 is also to facilitate the process of understanding. And here in slide number 3, I have written some lines on the theme of this poem. What the poet says is that everything in this world is perishable, means everything of this world will turn to coal with the passage of time. Only the virtuous soul is eternal. The bright and colorful day that dies in the night, the lovely gaudy rose withers too, and the sweet spring full of sweet days and roses also comes to a close. It is only a sweet and virtuous soul that never dies. A virtuous soul is eternal. In other words, if we live a purely virtuous life, we can gain immortality. And before I wind up my lecture, I would like to recapitulate some of the things. The title of the poem is very suggestive to the theme, and needless to say, the title of the poem is Virtue. Immortality of the soul is the theme of this poem. George Herbert was a metaphysical poet. Here, we should never forget that Richard Crashaw, George Herbert, Henry Vaughan, Andrew Marvell, they were the great metaphysical poets. and John Donne was their leader. Here in this poem, the poet has borrowed four examples from the lap of nature to prove his point. And that point is that if we want to be immortal, we should cultivate appreciable virtues to make life virtuous. Now, this is the time to conclude the poem. Boys and girls, first of all, I would like to make you know that the present poem has been derived from the famous volume of poems entitled The Temple. And this book has, when this book was compiled, in fact, it has a story behind it. And you must have heard the name of Nicholas Ferrar. Nicholas Ferrar was the friend of George Herbert, and he compiled all the poems of George Herbert. Here it is one thing is to be kept in mind, that George Herbert did not get any name and fame while he was alive. He was very frustrated, but he gave all of his poems before his death. When he died in 1633, he gave all of his poems to Nicholas Ferrar, and Nicholas Ferrar published this poem, and there are 160 poems in this volume, and the title of that volume is The Temple. Here, another thing to be noted, that when George Herbert was only 3 years old, he lost his father, Sir Richard Herbert. George's mother was a man of remarkable character. She brought up her large family all by herself. The young Herbert came into early contact with John Donne, who was a friend of his mother and who influenced the younger poet much. As I said you a few minutes ago, that before his death, George Herbert had sent all his manuscripts to Nicholas Ferrar, his friend, to publish or destroy as he thought fit. Nicholas Ferrar compiled 160 poems of George Herbert, and the volume of poems was named The Temple. Thus, The Temple is a collection of 160 poems composed by George Herbert. Now, as far as the conclusion is concerned, I can say it very firmly with the help of the beautiful stanza patterns, the simplicity of the language, beautiful words used by the poet, lilting music and figures of the speech, wonderful expression, the theme and the message, the title of this poem. We can say it very firmly that Virtue is a wonderful poem. Virtue is a wonderful poem, always throbs with lilting music. And this poem can be compared with the poems written by William Shakespeare, and the title of that sonnet is Poor Soul, the Center of My Sinful Earth. The theme of that poem can also be compared with this present poem, and the theme of Death Be Not Proud, written by John Donne. That poem also has the same theme what the present poem had. So these three poems can be compared, and these three poems have the same thing, where it has been emphasized by the poets that everything of this world is transitory, nothing is permanent in this world, but if we follow the path of goodness that will lead to immortality, we will be able to peep into the God's house if we follow the path of virtues, the path of goodness. And that is why the poet says in the last stanza of this poem, only a sweet and virtuous soul, like seasoned timber, never gets, but though the whole world turn to coal, then chiefly lives. George Herbert may not be a poet like William Shakespeare or John Milton. He may not be very famous like Wordsworth or Alfred Tennyson, but there is no denying this fact that by virtue of his diction, by virtue of the simplicity of his poems, by virtue of lilting music, he is a wonderful poet, and the poem Virtue is a great poem, and it is a piece of unforgettable poetry. Thank you so much.